Hey guys, I'm back with lots of book recommendations today. I've been working all morning with loading a lot of these onto my Goodreads so that those book reviews are available to you if I have not had them on there as reviews before. And there are so many, and I thought I was going to be keeping it short, but that might not happen. Things have changed a little bit. I have now closed up the high school library, or I'm still kind of moving some stuff out, but I have worked all week on closing up the high school library. So I'm not going to continue to do the student book talks and the adult book talks. I'm just going to merge it all together and give you some Saturday stacks. In my video about Cozy Mystery Series, I talked to you about Cleo Coyle's A Coffee House Mystery Series. This is one of my favorite ones to either read, flip through, and listen to. I don't have all of the paperback copies of this, so if I don't, then I usually just go on the public library on Libby and get the either ebook and put it on my Kindle because it's an easy one to be able to flip through, or I do the audiobook of these. I like the narrator. Okay, she's not my favorite, but they're easy to listen to whenever I'm trying to craft for the day or clean for the day. I just pop my phone in my pocket and hit play and listen to this series. So this week I did go back and review Espresso Shot. This one is number 7, and so I'm waiting on number 8, which is Holiday Grind. So I just went back and reviewed this one while I was waiting. But I did finish a cozy mystery that I don't think I've talked to you about. It's called Lending a Paw. It was so fun. It is a bookmobile mystery, but it was a really fun one. It was an audio. I listened to it. It was one of those books that I listened to as I was trying to get some paperwork done before school ended. So I finished it like 2 weeks ago. I'm still reading Untamed. I'm now actually reading it online with a group that I've never met before. And so we meet on Zoom every Thursday evening. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that just today I posted an excerpt from that. Well, actually a picture of the book page of Glennon Doyle's Untamed, of just something that she said that was especially poignant. I'm really enjoying it. All right, so now I'm going to get to some new books that I pulled off of my shelf that are not in the library. I have not talked about them before. I thought some of these are going to be really good for your poolside or your beach reading this summer. Okay, this probably is not a summer read, but I love this book. It's called Heroic Measures. It's by Jill Ciment. I'm not really sure where I picked this one up, but it's a lovely story. I would definitely call it a literary novel. It's really good writing. It's enduring. You're meeting an older couple in New York City when there's a terrorist attack. A truck, possibly a truck with a bomb, has driven inside a tunnel and the whole city is on lockdown. And during this whole episode, their beloved dog is undergoing a crisis. This is like their child. While they're doing this, they're also trying to sell their apartment and look towards the future. So they have way too much going on. The whole book takes place over the course of 48 hours. The other really cool thing about this book is the point of view. The point of view shifts from Alex and Ruth, who are the dog's owners, parents, and then also you hear from the dog's point of view. It's moving. And you can see the love between the couple and between the couple and the dog, and how much the dog loves the couple and does not want to be causing them any sadness. I really love this book. Another fun chick lit pool or beach read would be Getting Rid of Bradley by Jennifer Crusie. I think that's how you say her name. I enjoy her. This is just a humorous, funny story of a lady who is faced with an ex-husband, Bradley, who she is happy to be getting rid of and is ready to move on. Unfortunately, Bradley has a reputation of his own, and as a cop overhears her talking to her sister about getting rid of Bradley, he needs her help. And even though she's ready to get rid of Bradley, he is still bringing havoc into her life. It's a page turner. It's an adventure. You're going to love this one. And maybe, just maybe, Lucy finds new love. I think a lot of people who read Jennifer Crusie probably read many of her books. I would like to put her back on my reading list. If you're looking for more mysteries for your summer bag, this Clouds Without Rain, it's an Ohio Amish mystery. It's written by P.L. Gaus. He is a professor of chemistry at the College of Wooster in Wooster, Ohio. So again, another good local read, which I really love local writers. This is number 3 in the Ohio Amish series. It's the only one that I've read in the series, but you can definitely pick it up and just read because each mystery is like watching an episode of like Murder, She Wrote or Columbo. Even though they may be the same characters, it might be the same place, these all take place in Holmes County, Ohio, which is Amish country for those of us that live in Ohio. I'm not a huge fan of Amish country, but it is definitely really popular here. And I know a lot of people are intrigued by the Amish lifestyle, but these are mysteries that take place under that guise of the Amish country. This would be another fun one to throw into your pool or your beach bag. It's Rachel Gibson's Lola Carlyle Reveals All. In this book, Lola Carlyle has had a little more revealed on the internet than she's comfortable with. And so she's trying to get away from that. And unfortunately, she bumps into somebody who has seen that side of her, but he is willing to get to know her and give her a second chance at a first impression. Jane Green's Second Chance. It's a nice size paperback. Again, a good one that you could throw into your beach bag or your pool bag. It's a tale of friendship. I think there's 3 or 4 girls and a guy. They knew each other 20 years ago. A tragedy has brought these people back together, and they start talking about, they catch up on 20 years, like, within a weekend. I think this is a really relatable book because most of us have had to attend some sort of an event where you see people that you haven't seen in 20 years, but you used to be really close to them and talk to them all the time. So you really want to know, like, hey, what have you been doing? Are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you work? What do you do? Where do you live? And so that's kind of what goes on in this novel. They definitely re-examine their life. They definitely rethink about where life has taken them and whether they are happy with it or not. The next one is probably my favorite one that I'm going to recommend to you today. It's called Hope Never Dies. It is an Obama-Biden mystery. It's book 1 in a series of 2. I have not read the second one yet. It's by Andrew Shaffer. It's down here. I picked this up at the Cincinnati Book Festival that I've talked to you about in probably every video I've made so far. But the Books by the Banks Festival in Cincinnati, he was there, and I just could not walk away without getting this because I love mysteries. And I think this is just an awesome premise, and it did not disappoint. It is super, super funny. It follows the 2016 presidential election, and Uncle Joe Biden is puttering around his house, grouting the tile in his master bathroom, feeling lost and adrift in an America that doesn't make sense anymore. But when his favorite Amtrak conductor dies in a suspicious accident, Joe feels a familiar desire to serve, and he leaps into the role of amateur sleuth with a little help from his old friend, President Barack Obama, codenamed Renegade. Together, they'll plumb the darkest depths of Delaware, traveling from cheap motels to biker bars and beyond as they uncover the sinister forces advancing America's opioid epidemic. Part action thriller, part mystery, part bromance. That's the part I think is so funny. And just to be clear, 100% fiction. Hope Never Dies imagines life after the Oval Office for 2 of America's greatest heroes. Together, they'll prove that justice has no term limits. So I also wonder what happens since now Biden is running for president. Do they leave this out? Because he is goofy in here. The characterization that Shaffer puts into both Obama and Biden, you totally buy into. It totally sounds exactly like what you saw, which I also love local authors. I think I've talked about that numerous times too, but highly recommend, especially for your summer reading list, because coming up to the next election, we all need a little laugh. It's told in first person from Uncle Joe's perspective. I also have it signed here, which I think is really cool. And I love the acknowledgement. It's for Uncle Joe. It has humor, it has suspense, it has mystery. In book news, I did already review Twilight on the Student Book Chats. Again, I will link that below. But big book news in the Twilight world. Stephanie Meyer came out and said that she is now going to actually publish in book form Midnight Sun. It is coming out in August of 2020. There was a lot of controversy over this. So as she was writing and publishing Twilight, she as an author was developing her story by writing it from different points of view. Now, somehow somebody got a hold of that and they put it out there unauthorized, and she was ticked. Therefore, there was a lot of hubbub about that, and she was like, she'll never publish it now. Well, then it didn't take too long that she then did put it out there because she didn't want the Twilight fans not to be able to read what other people were reading illegally. So she put it out there temporarily, and it was just a draft, but she has now gone back and finished that and polished it off, and it's going to be a novel that will be published in August of this year. So that is super exciting. It's on my calendar, and I hope it's on yours. I love Ian Colfer's Artemis Fowl series, and it is being turned into a movie and will hit theaters May 29th. So that's really exciting. It's later this month, if our theaters are even open by then. In other book news, Suzanne Collins also is publishing a new book in the Hunger Games series. The Hunger Games prequel is called Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It comes out May 19th. Super excited about it. I already pre-ordered it from Blue Manatee. Again, I'll put that link below, but it's a children's bookstore here in Cincinnati. I've been ordering my books from the local bookstores. Another bookstore that I ordered books from was Wheatberry. I've never actually even been to that independent bookstore. It's on my summer list whenever we do get to actually shop in person. In other book news, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter is being read by people that are associated with the Harry Potter world. So Harry Potter, the Harry Potter, he actually read the first chapter in the first book and it was amazing. So I will link that below. That is definitely worth listening to. I've only listened to that chapter 1 of him reading it so far. I think they're on maybe chapter 3 because they're doing like one a week. So don't forget to check that out. In some of the previous videos, I talked about some Newbery Award winners, and because we're coming up on summer, and I would assume that some of you are trying to make your summer reading list and then also help your kids make some of their summer reading lists, but I just wanted to kind of pull them together right here since I've already done these so far. This is the 1981 Newbery Award winner. It would be a great one if you have a daughter in, say, I would say probably 5th, 6th, 7th grade would be a really good read for this. High school is always great too. We have it on our high school shelves. You probably know Catherine Patterson more for Bridge to Terabithia, and if that's one that you have really good memories of, probably your teacher reading it to you in class, that would be a great one to introduce your child to. Catherine Patterson, on the back it says, has also won the Newbery Medal for Bridge to Terabithia and The Great Gilly Hopkins. I've not read The Great Gilly Hopkins, but I have read Bridge to Terabithia, and you'll remember it's just a heart-wrenching, beautiful story of a friendship. It's a coming-of-age story. But I highly recommend Jacob Have I Loved by Catherine Patterson. Another great Newbery Award winner that I've already talked about is Crisscross by Lynn Ray Perkins. It's the 2006 Newbery Award winner, and this is another great one that's for a good summer read. Again, probably more for a girl, grades 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7, but it's the story of a group of friends, and again, how they grow up during that summer. It does have some magical realism in it, which I think is really fun, and just it's different for a Newbery Award winner. Is Madeline L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time. So again, this is magical realism, and this has some magic in it. You'll remember, and I'm sure one of your teachers when you were growing up in elementary school probably already read this to you, or it's one that you read on your own during that intermediate middle school time. I love that on the back it says, it was a dark and stormy night. Out of this wild night, a strange visitor comes to the Murray house and beckons Meg, her brother Charles Wallace, and their friend Calvin O'Keefe on a most dangerous and extraordinary adventure, one that will threaten their lives and our universe. It was the winner of the 1963 Newbery Medal, and it is the first book in Madeline L'Engle's Time Quintet. That means there are 5 of these, so again, you may have only read A Wrinkle in Time. You can get it free. You can get it, the audiobook free from Libby and the public library. This will be a fun series to listen to the whole series this summer, either on your own or if you would like to listen to it with your kids. If you want an Audible book that's good for in the car, this will be a great book. Another great series for summer is Anne of Green Gables. So I reviewed Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea on the student book chats. And again, I will link that below too because they're great summer reads that would be great ones to listen to. But they were right at the turn of the century. They take place on an island in Canada, Prince Edward Island. And this is a series that I was introduced to when I was in college. I didn't know anything about it when I was growing up. And when I went to college, I lived with a bunch of English majors, and they all had already read all these when they were growing up. They would get the movies on the weekends, and they would watch them on the weekends, and I had no idea what they were talking about. So then I started reading this series, and I too fell in love with Anne and Avonlea and Green Gables. So it's a book about an 11-year-old orphan that gets taken in by two siblings, brothers and sisters, Marilla and Matthew. And they were supposed to get a boy to help out on the farm. That's what they were looking for. And they ended up with an 11-year-old redhead with her own way. You will fall in love with Anne. It's a very funny. There are lots of little funny stories. You may know her through the new series that came through, I believe it was on Netflix. It's called Anne with an E. But it's a cute series. The movies that I watched when I was in college, that was the early 90s, were probably I think there's like a 1980 or 1985 series that was on television, maybe even BBC. Another thing I really love about this series, and I'm going to open it here so you can see there. You can see this is my old copy. But there are a lot of books in the series. I think I said there are 10 primary books in the series. But one of the things that I really love about this series is that all the chapters are titled. You will laugh, you will cry, you will get to the end of the book, and a chapter that is called The Reaper Whose Name is Death. Don't skip ahead. But it's a beautiful, endearing story. So as you're making those summer reading lists, those are really good classics that you might want to put on your reading list or you might want to introduce to your child. Two books that I picked up that I've already done a review for the series in a previous video, so I will link that below. But it's the Mitford series, so I did come across At Home in Mitford, which is the first in the Mitford series, and A New Song, which is number 5 in the Mitford series, which actually doesn't take place in Mitford. Father Tim and... Spoiler, Father Tim's going to try his hand at retirement, so then he doesn't end up retired very long before he is called into service at Whitecap, so he travels to try and help serve the community there. This still includes plenty of Mitford characters. You'll still find out what they're doing. They can't help but keep in touch with Father Tim, but then you'll meet many more. Karon writes several spinoffs from the Mitford series too, so I haven't done all of those. I think it's like the Mitford years, their Tim novels or something like that. So I think I've read 1 or 2 in that series too, but I need to go back. That would be a great one to add to my summer list, is to continue with that series. I love the Mitford series. It's cozy, it's fun. You get to know a small town, you get to know a small congregation. It's humorous. Father Tim ends up raising, even though he's a bachelor for a lot of his life, he ends up raising a teenage boy, a preteen boy, and that in itself provides lots of entertainment. Another book that I've reviewed is A Grave Matter by Anna Lee Huber. And then again, as I was pulling books off the shelf and unpacking, with the first one, which is The Anatomist's Wife, the second one, which is Mortal Arts, and then the third one, A Grave Matter, which I think is the one that I probably did the review earlier. We do have these in our high school library because they are great historical novels. They're mysteries. They take place in Scotland in 1830. I've read the first 3. I really need to do the 4th one. I think now there are probably up to about 8 novels in this series. This is another series that I picked up at the Cincinnati Book Festival, the Books by the Banks, which again, I've talked about a lot. So every year that I go to Books by the Banks, I usually pick up the next one in the series. If you like historical fiction, if you like mystery, if you like Scotland, other worlds, you are going to love this series. It definitely has some romance in it. From the very first book, there is a love interest, which definitely adds to the story and the mystery. They end up working together to solve the mysteries. Lady Darby is just a wonderful example of someone who has been dealt a rough blow. She has a bad reputation and it is not her own fault. And so she has tried to start her life over with her sister, living with her sister on an estate in the Scotland countryside. And while doing that, then murder happens around her, and she has special skills from the life that she led with her ex-husband that gives her insight into what might be going on with these murders in the countryside. In the second book, she moves from the countryside to the city so she can help her sister receive the medical care she needs while she's pregnant. So that's a whole new setting for you. We're still in Scotland. We're still in 1830. You will still see Sebastian Gage. He will still be there trying to ask for Kira's help in solving these mysteries. And then in the third book, we meet some people from Kira's past. And this is the past before she was married to the Anatomist. This would be a great series to put on your summer reading list if you are looking for good books that you can fall into. They would be fun to read beside the pool. They would be fun to take to the beach. They're just good mysteries. So a couple more books that I will link below where I've reviewed them on the Student Book Talks, but I did want to point them out on here too, is Jodi Picoult's My Sister's Keeper. Super popular author. I've read several of her books. I want to read several more. Our book club is going to be reading Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult in July, so I have that definitely on my summer reading list. This is definitely one of those books that I remember where I was when I was reading it, and when I got to a particular part in the end, probably about right there, I just shut the book. I was around other people who were also reading the book for book club, and I could not believe what happened. Jodi Picoult is really good at that. I heard an interview with her one time when she talked about the fact that she likes to write books that make you think, especially think about things that you think you've already made your decision about. And My Sister's Keeper is definitely one of those. There are 2 sisters. The first sister that is born is medically fragile. They actually had the second child to help the first child medically. She's never really had a choice in helping her sister, although she would love to help her sister. But sometimes there just becomes a line to where you are unable to live your own life because you are trying to help someone else live theirs. It's a beautiful story. I love that it is told from the point of view of several members of the family, and I will link that review below. Is George Orwell's Animal Farm and George Orwell's 1984. I will be reviewing both of these books on my own this summer because next year I think I will be teaching freshman and senior English. Freshman English all freshmen, and then seniors, just the general English class. And I think that I will probably go back and look at George Orwell. He just is one of those classic authors that I think his stories are retold over and over and over. We make lots of books and lots of movies on the premise of how his books are written. I can't remember which ones of James Patterson's that I have done in the student book chats. I know that we have Beach House at the high school library, so I think I talked about that one. But I also read Honeymoon by James Patterson. This is one where he wrote it with someone else, Howard, Rothman. Actually, he did the same thing with the Beach House. It's with Peter de Jong. Whatever that is. And I wanted to mention both of those because another book that I did in the student book chat is James Patterson's Maximum Ride. So again, if you are making your summer reading list, James Patterson is a page turner. If you have a hard time getting into a book or sticking with the book, you will not when it's James Patterson. He writes short chapters, they're choppy, and at the end of every chapter, it just totally leads into the next one. So it's really hard to put his books down. The Maximum Ride series, I would say middle school to high school. He wrote this series because he had a child that age, a son, and he was having a hard time finding books that he thought that his son would like to read that are a lot like his books, so he wrote a whole series. It is science fiction series. This is the first one. This is Angel Experiment. But these kids have certain powers. They've been engineered with certain powers. And one day they just say enough is enough. And they go out on their own. He writes for adults and he also writes for students. Like 9 books, I think, in the Maximum Ride series. Then it was also turned into graphic novels. And those are really good too. And some of your students who are having a hard time finding something that they want to read this summer, you might want to try those graphic novels and those manga series. I don't know if it's manga or manga. I don't know why I can never say that, but they're fun. In one of my former videos, I did this food rules. And I don't know if you can see here where it says this Mara Coleman. I don't know why I never noticed this, but I was reading up on it a little bit after I was talking to you guys to it, flipping through it again because I just love it. And she is the illustrator to Michael Pollan's Food Rules. So I already book talked this. I'm not going to do it again. But what I learned is that this lady right here is the same person who illustrated Why We Broke Up. And that is a young adult novel. And again, it's a novel, but it's also kind of like this, where it's a novel and then all of her illustrations, they start each chapter, and every illustration tells you basically like something in the story that the character is going to talk to you about, some item, some object that was important to their relationship. Daniel Handler wrote that book, Why We Broke Up. I just love it. It's one of my favorite young adult novels. I highly recommend listening to Jason Reynolds For Every One on audio. I got it through the Blanchester Public Library on their Overdrive and Libby app, so you can listen to it through there. And oh my gosh, he reads it. And Jason Reynolds, if you don't know, is a young adult author, but he did a whole thing during this whole COVID-19 where he was giving like writing prompts. But his book For Everyone, he reads this one and it is so good. The audio is so good. It's like a performance. It's not him reading it, it is him performing it. I know I don't often talk about this, and John actually brought it up. He's like, every book you talk about, you're like, oh, I love it. Oh, I like this one. I really like this one. This one's one of my favorites. And you never talk about any that you don't like. I don't know that I rarely ever read a book that I don't appreciate or that I can't think of someone who's going to like it. Unfortunately, last week, I did find one I did not like. Super cute, cozy mystery. I loved the covers. It had like a little RV on the front of it. It was called Beaches, Bungalows, and Burglaries, but I was listening to the audio and the narrator was not my cup of tea. I felt like it was really stereotypical. It was set in Kentucky in an RV park. I thought I would like that, and I didn't like it at all. And I had already recommended it to my sister, so that is why I never recommend books that I have not read. So this week I actually didn't finish any books yet. I have a couple that I should be finishing probably today or even tomorrow. So I'm still working on all of these. I started Neanderthal Seeks Yarns, but for some reason, you know, it was wrapping up the end of the school year and I just was not reading like I normally do, and I did not get through it, and it self-returned to the library. That is one of the wonderful things about Libby and Overdrive, is that your library books automatically return themselves, so you never owe anything, even though Blanchester Public Library doesn't charge you for overdue books anymore, but it automatically turns your books back in. But sometimes you're in the middle of a book when it returns, and that is really irritating. So I am back on the holds list for that one, but there are plenty of other penny reads that I can be reading at the same time, because you don't have to read those in order, and there are so many spinoffs. I've been working on making my summer reading list. I plan to read a penny read book probably one per week this whole summer because they're so fun and I'd like to get caught up. Another book last week that I said that I was going to read this week was Children of Blood and Bone. It's a young adult novel. I only got it started and then again it had returned itself, so I went back on and I was actually able to get the audio version through Overdrive and Libby, and oh my gosh, it is so good. So I'm probably 5 or 6 chapters into that and I love the audio version. I would highly recommend it. It is fantasy, it's young adult, but again, I'm 47 years old and I love young adult fiction. I love young adult fantasy especially. They know what they're doing and it is promising to be a great read. I am still reading The House of Leaves. This will probably take me all summer. This thing is heavy and dark. I'm reading The Case of the Missing Men. This graphic novel has been really fun. It looks like a Nancy Drew novel. I'm almost finished. One night, for some reason, I forgot to bring my book upstairs that I was reading, so I just picked up my Kindle, and I had A Study of Charlotte already loaded on my Kindle to read. It is by Brittany Cavallaro. I'm really enjoying it. I'm almost finished. I have it on my Kindle. I am still making my way through Hacking School Discipline. So another one that I'm going to start this week is The Henna Artist. It is by Alka Joshi. You can see it's a Reese's Book Club. I am still waiting to hear back from them about Hello Sunshine being the resident librarian. I'm waiting. This is Reese's Book Club choice for May. I haven't yet started it, and yes, I am fully aware that tomorrow is May 17th. I did listen to the interview on Facebook, and it's also linked on my Facebook page if you would like to take a look at it there. I'll try and find it and link it below. I'm not sure if I can do that or not. I'm going to start and finish this week. So I'm going to kick off my Newbery reading this week with a nice short one, but it is Sounder by William H. Armstrong. It says it's for ages 10 and up, and again, it's really small, so this would be a good one for you to put on your kids' reading list or to tell your kid about it so maybe they might want to read it, especially if you're talking about at age 10 and a boy and he sees a dog on the cover. He's probably going to be interested in reading this. What's your favorite Newbery? Do you have a favorite Newbery? I need to go back and look on my list. I have kept a list of books that I've read since I was a senior in high school, and my AP English teacher told me to keep a list, and I'm a pleaser, so I did. But I keep a list of all the books that I've read, so I need to go back and look and see all of the Newbery Award winners that I've read so far. I'll do that. I'm always on the lookout for what's going to be on our staff book club reading list for next year, and this David McCullough, The Pioneers, one of our book club members loaned this to me. It's the audio. It's the heroic story of the settlers who brought the American ideal west. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's definitely on my summer list. So another couple books that I wanted to throw out there are ones that I have started and I plan to finish. One of them is Love Does. It's by Bob Goff. So none of these books are going to be on my Goodreads reviews because I haven't finished them yet. I have started them, and that was one of my New Year's resolutions, was to finish all books that I have started that are on my shelves. So this one has been on there. It's a nonfiction book. It says, discover a secretly incredible life in an ordinary world. It's classified under religion, spirituality, and general. Another book that I'm about halfway through, I got it last summer and read about half of it and then laid it aside. I don't know why, but look, it looks very summery. But it is Grace Not Perfection, Embracing Simplicity and Celebrating Joy. It's by Emily Lay. She is big in the planner world, which is how I know her. But this is one of those beautiful books. I mean, look at the pineapple on the front, just the way that it is designed. You've got this, and then it follows like a blog. I'm a big blog reader, and it follows like a blog. But it has, you can see like some of these, like where you fill in the blank, where you write in it, which is really hard for me to do. But it's one of those journaling books that I need to pick back up and write. I really liked it when I was reading it, and then I just stepped away from it. So I'm going to finish that this summer. Another book that I've had on my reading stack forever is this one, 1001 Ways to Be Romantic. It's just a book of lists. Super easy, but I would like to go back, review, and read it from cover to cover this summer. Another book that I have been reading for years is this one. It is Sarah Braun Brethnick's Mrs. Sharp's Traditions, Reviving Victorian Family Celebrations of Comfort and Joy. She wrote Simple Abundance. I read it years and years ago, but it was something that I picked up and I would read it every day. It had a little reading for every day, and I loved her point of view. So when this came out, I bought it, and again, it is sat there, and I have started it, and I'm probably 3/4 of the way through, so I'm going to finish that one this summer. This 1 year to an organized financial life, I've been going through it for probably the last 5 years. Another book that I've talked about several times already in my videos is The Artist's Way. It's by Julia Cameron. It is a workbook. Every summer I pick this up and I dig into it and then I lay it back down. So I'm going to finish it this summer, but she is the person who talks about doing morning pages. So as soon as you get up in the morning, you come downstairs, you get yourself a cup of coffee, you sit down, you pick up your journal and you write. I think she says that she wants you to write like 3 pages and you just write. You don't need to have a prompt. You don't need to be focused. You don't need to critique your writing. Just write 3 pages in the morning and this will spur on your creativity. I've been doing that for years. I'm not good at doing it all the time, especially when it starts getting like into the winter of the school year, you know, and you fall into that like November where it's just like, I do not want to be getting up at 5 a.m. I probably have fallen off a lot of times, but I always come back to it. And especially in the summer, it's a good time to reset. I plan to spend some time in this one this summer. It's called Home Comforts, The Art and Science of Keeping House. Now that I feel like that I have more time to keep house because it's summertime and I always do a lot of my spring cleaning in summertime, I would just like to go through some of this book and look at some of the tips and tricks on organizing and cleaning. There's a whole section on laundry and making your shopping list, your grocery list, talking about what you should always have in your pantry, a cleaning routine. I really enjoy this and I've bookmarked some and written in it some, but I would really like to dive a little bit more into this summer. A couple of great links that I've shared on my Facebook page just in the last week or so since I've talked to you that I wanted to put out there. Barnes & Noble has released their summer reading list, so I will link that below. It has lots of great titles on it and it's broken up by sections. So there is a young adult section on there. There's a romance section, science fiction, and there's some great reads on there. Glitter Guide also put out a summer reading list and it looks like a lot of fun. I definitely went through that whole list and made some notes. Mental Floss shared an article about 11 children's series that you may have read when you were younger that you might not have realized are still going on. And these might be ones that you want to share with your kid whenever, again, you're trying to help your kid find some summer reading. Please help them find books that they will love during the summer. And if you need help, I'm only a text, email, call away. Let me know. I have plenty of suggestions for whatever age or gender your child is, whatever their interests are. I shared 2 articles from Bookstar. They did one about storytelling podcasts. So as much as I love reading, I love writing, I love storytelling, I love reading people's stories and writing my own story. And I'm sure a lot of you do the same. Bookstar also shared an article where the New York Public Library is playing the author, I think Neil Gaiman is the one who is actually reading Coraline. I haven't looked into that one yet, but it's definitely on my list and I shared that article this week. I also shared the link to Michelle Obama. She reads every Monday. She reads a children's book. I know she did The Hungry Caterpillar, but that is through PBS Kids, but that happens every Monday. I shared a link to TED. They did 70 books to make you more hopeful. I think we all need to be more hopeful during this time, whether it be because of COVID or because of all the cuts in education. Also on my Facebook page, I shared that I am starting my summer reading list, trying to decide what I want to read this summer and building that list. So I'm sure you're probably doing that too. And I also ask for suggestions for coffee shop stops. If you follow me on any social media, you will know that I am a coffee fan and I love local coffee shops. 110, I've got to be around there somewhere. I think last summer I hit 100. So if you have any suggestions for your favorite coffee shop stops, I would love to hear about it and they will go on my summer reading or on my summer visit list. Does everybody do that? Does everybody sit down at the beginning of the summer and make a reading list and a visit list and things you want to do and house projects that you want to accomplish and movies you want to watch or TV series that you want to watch? Does everybody do that? Is that just me? It might just be me. Be sure and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads. I link all those below so that we can be social and chat. Comment, email, message, text. Just talk to me. I always love talking about books. Tell me what you're reading. Tell me what you've read that I've recommended. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you're looking for. Hit the like and subscribe button below. Let me know what you think. I may no longer be the librarian at Blanchester High School, but I hope to continue being your librarian. What are you reading? What do you hope to read? What's on your summer reading list? Let me know. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.